Hey friends, welcome back to the kitchen. We are doing a little bit of an unplanned video. I hadn't planned on doing this today or right now, but all the ingredients were there, and when you've got the ingredients, might as well go for it. So as you can hear, we've got some butter heating up here over the stove. We're gonna make a tomato soup. I've just been in the mood for tomato soup lately and just kind of feeling a little meh, and this always makes me feel better. So I've got this butter melting on high. We're going to turn it down just a little bit. And I've already pre-chopped my onions and garlic. As you can see, that is a lot of garlic. It's probably 3 to 5-ish large cloves of garlic and about 1/4 of an onion. And I'm just going to dump those right into the butter. And yes, I'm doing this with one hand because I'm holding my phone with the other hand to record this. Like I said, there was no planning involved in this video. And I'm just doing this on my lunch break at work, actually. So that's how easy this soup is to throw together. And the nice thing is it's got lots of onions and garlic, so lots of good immune benefits there. We're gonna have tomatoes, so that's gonna give us a nice little boost. Some good chicken stock, so we're going to get some good collagen and nutrients from there. So I've got those garlic and onions sitting here. So it's just a really comforting soup to make. I do this whenever I'm feeling slightly under the weather. I make a huge pot of this soup, and I eat the whole thing over the course of a day, go to bed, and usually the next day I wake up feeling great. So I call this my magic soup. And what we're doing right now is we are just sauteing the onions and garlic until they start to go slightly translucent. So we're just gonna let those guys keep on going. And I'm usually impatient and I don't wait for them to be fully sauteed because I don't mind if they aren't perfectly soft in my soup. I don't mind if there's like a little bit of texture. But if you have people who are picky eaters and don't want to encounter a little bit of a crunchy onion, you might want to saute them a little bit longer. But we're just cooking them, just getting all those good flavors released. I probably had about 2 tablespoons of butter in here melting away. So that's going to be the fat here. So we're going to have good fat. We have that garlic pre-chopped, so we're getting all of those good immune boosting benefits there. All right. So I'm going to call that good. The color hasn't quite changed, but it'll do that in a few moments. It'll start to go a little bit more clear, and that just means that there's been some good cooking action happening. So the beautiful thing about soup is that the longer you let it sit, the more flavors develop. So we're just going to get all of this put together, and then we're going to let it sit, and it's going to be super tasty. So then I'm going to take my tomatoes. I have a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes, and just a little tip. Always put your tomatoes in before your broth. Because if you put your broth in and then your tomatoes, you're going to have soup going everywhere. So I'm just going to give that a little stir. And again, this is something super basic that I just like to whip up as a comfort food. I've been making this soup, probably since I was like 12. The recipe started off as being a recipe in the Better Homes and Garden cookbook that my mom had. And it's just been a favorite. All right, and so then I have my broth here. Now for the broth, I did bouillon. I did 2 teaspoons of bouillon in 16 ounces of boiling water. You can absolutely do a canned broth because as you see right now, I'm handling this with a oven mitt because it's really hot because of the boiling water. And so I'm just going to pour that in, about 16 ounces of broth. Give that a little stir. And then we're gonna add our seasonings. We're gonna do some salt and pepper, some Italian seasonings. So I've got some oregano here. And we're gonna add that in. You want like 1 to 2 teaspoons-ish. You know me, I never measure. We got our basil that we're gonna throw in here. And I love basil, so I usually do a lot more basil. But again, we're looking 1 to 2 teaspoons for each spice. I'm gonna add in some bay leaves. So normally I would add thyme as well, just kind of all the Italian seasonings. But I don't have any thyme right now, but I'm just going to drop a couple of bay leaves in there, give it a little extra seasoning. And then I've got my rosemary, and I'm just going to crumble some off. I've just been slowly crumbling the rosemary off of this since it dried. Ooh, little rosemary explosion there. I'm gonna have to clean that up later. All right. And then we're also gonna add some salt and pepper, but I'm gonna give this a nice little stir. And if you're wanting to make this more of like a sinus clear out, you can absolutely add in some cayenne or some red pepper flakes, anything like that. You can put in noodles, you can put in, let's see, I've done carrots and celery in this before. You can add in chicken. Like, this is just the very base of a tomato soup, and then you can just have so much fun with it from there. Okay, so I've got all of that. I'll add salt and pepper in a moment. You guys don't need to watch me do that, and my pepper is like a little grinder, so I can't do that with one hand. But what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna bring it up to a boil. And once it's at a boil for probably a good like 5-ish minutes, then I'm going to turn it down to simmer, cover it, and just let it simmer for anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour, maybe more. Honestly, it depends on how long you can resist the tantalizing smell of a delicious tomato soup in your kitchen. So thank you for joining me on this super impromptu soup journey, and I will do a little clip of the finished product once it's done. All right, and here is my delicious bowl of soup. Now this was simmering for about an hour-ish, so my house smells like tomato soup, and it's absolutely lovely. One of the reasons that I like to make my own tomato soup, because you know, there are soups that you can just heat up in 30 seconds and all of that, is that, you know, I can really control what goes in here. I can make sure that every ingredient is going to be healthy and nourishing. I don't have to worry about any additives or sugars or anything like that that might actually feed the bacteria or whatever it is that I'm trying to fight off, and I can actually make this a really good nourishing soup, and I can customize it to what I need. And as you saw, it really takes very little prep time. This is something you could dump into a crock pot at the beginning of the day. So it's a really easy, nutritious recipe that I like to make up. And it tastes just so much better than the soups that you'll find like in the grocery store aisles and all of that. So here you have it, a nice, delicious, healthy tomato soup, very comforting, very good for helping with the immune system just when you're not feeling so great. And there you go. I will see you all next time. Thanks for hanging with me on this very impromptu little video.